Well, greetings and salutations, imagination connoisseurs. Welcome to the greatest damn movie-related show on the planet, the John Campea Show, coming to you right here on John Campea's YouTube channel. I am not John Campea. John Campea is coming in once again remotely. He is traveling the highways and byways of the United States, going to movie meetups in cities all over the world. Well, at least in America. John, where are you today?
I am, where did I say I was?
Longview, Washington.
I'm in Longview, Washington, now finally starting to make my way back home. We did our Seattle movie meetup last night. It was awesome. I got to see Howl's Moving Castle for the very first time on the big screen. I've never seen it in a movie theater before. So that was really great for me. I just enjoyed it immensely. Meeting everybody there was so great. And now I'm slowly making my way home. And having to stop in Longview at a Walmart here so I can do the show. I'm really this tour is kind of sponsored by Walmart in many ways. I've been doing pretty much every show from Walmart parking lots. But yeah, we got a lot of great stuff to cover today. And of course, Jonathan Voico is also joining us here today. Jonathan,
I'm here holding the ship together.
You know, John, if you're in Longview, you're a hop, skip, and a jump away from Astoria, Oregon, where they shot the Goonies.
Really? They shot the Goonies in Oregon?
Yep.
Astoria,
which is right across the way. I think they shot Kindergarten Cop there too.
I wish I had time. I would I would totally go down there and check it out, but I got to get home. It's going to take me like 3 more days to get home. So anyway, guys, with all that down, let's jump into it here, shall we? And we're going to start off with this. You know, I had somebody ask me yesterday, wrote into me after we talked about the Mandalorian and Gorgu trailer. And they posed this. They asked, is Mandalorian and Gorgu going to be the biggest flop that Star Wars has had as far as it goes with the movie theaters? Now, they didn't say or ask, would it be the worst movie they've ever had? That would be a totally different discussion because it is Jon Favreau doing it. So I've belief in him. But they asked me, would it be the biggest flop Star Wars has ever had? And I thought about that for a second. Now, if we're going to stick to the area of live action movies, then as of right now, the lowest grossing Star Wars live action film that we've had, as I switch over here, was Star Wars, a Star Wars story. Solo, a Star Wars story. And it basically made one Black Adam. It made $392 million, which was easily and by far, especially in the modern context, the lowest grossing. I mean, that was a stunner to a lot of people. Although I remember saying on Movie Talk when they announced this movie, I said, look, I'm going to be there and I'm going to see it and I'm looking forward to it and everything. But who's asking for a young Han Solo movie, especially when we just had Harrison Ford on screen as Han Solo? Mm-hmm. And you know what? I like the movie. I like Solo. I don't think it's the best Star Wars movie. I don't think it's like Rogue One or anything like that, but I enjoyed it. It was a fun little film. Made $392 million. So essentially, what you're really asking is, will Mandalorian and Gorgu make more than Solo, a Star Wars story? Yeah, because when you're asking, will it be the biggest flop they've had? Well, then the current lowest grossing one is Solo, a Star Wars story. Will it make less than that? And I wanted to present to you a couple of reasons why I think it could be the biggest flop they've ever had, make less than Solo, and then some reasons why I believe you should be more optimistic about it. So let's start with the negative side. We'll start with the reasons why it very well could end up being the lowest grossing of all the Star Wars movies, aka 392 million, the amount that Solo, a Star Wars story, made. Reason number one, it's a TV. I mean, we've talked at length about that, but it's a TV show that we just not too long ago had the last season of. We were expecting a season 4. Instead, very surprisingly, we get this movie announcement coming out, and it's going to be difficult drawing in audiences who didn't already watch the show, and not everybody watched the show. So now that's not an automatic by itself, like, oh, if it's a TV show being made a movie, automatic fail. Not necessarily, but that's just one reason. The second reason that I think it's very well possible that this could make less than Solo, a Star Wars story, is because we're not coming off of a high note. Mandalorian season 3 was not good. It was, now it had its moments, it absolutely did, but it did certain things in it that were just eye-rolling. It was kind of a mess. It didn't kind of follow its own narrative tone very well. And by the end of it, although again, it had some very, very decent things in the season, overall the season was pretty bad. So they're not coming into doing this movie from a position of strength. So, I mean, that's the second reason. So number one, it's a TV show. Number two, it's a TV show that is not coming off of its best season. The third reason I think it could be pretty challenging or problematic for them is the fact that Star Wars right now is just not in a great space. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're coming off of Andor, so to speak, no pun intended. We're coming off of Andor, which I think is the best thing Star Wars has ever done since the original trilogy. Like, absolutely the best thing they've done since the original trilogy. Nothing else Star Wars has done since Return of the Jedi has come remotely close to how good Andor is. So that's great. But again, that was a TV show. We haven't had a movie in 7 years. By the time this thing comes out, it'll be 7 years. So yeah, those are three fairly large aspects of this. Well, and then I'll throw in a fourth. The trailer wasn't very good. So the trailer wasn't very good, at least the first one. They can put out better ones. Star Wars is not in the best position as it is. The last season of Mandalorian was easily its weakest. And this is a glorified TV show being brought to the big screen that still looks and sounds exactly like the TV show. So those are the reasons I think that, yeah, maybe it is possible that this makes the least amount of money of any Star Wars live action film so far in the modern era. But I do believe there are reasons one could also be optimistic. And maybe it will exceed that $400 million mark. Number one is the aforementioned Andor. Yeah, Star Wars isn't in a great space right now. I already referred to that. But at least this thing's going to be coming out on the heels of Andor, which just won several Emmys. It was like the first Star Wars thing that won the huge best writing of a television series at the Emmys. It's coming off of at least that. Granted, it was a TV show, yes, but at least it's coming off of that. So that's number one. The second reason to be optimistic that this movie can exceed that $400 million mark and avoid being the lowest grossing Star Wars film of the modern context at any rate is because while season 3 was quite bad, the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian were great. And generally speaking, people have positive feelings towards Mandalorian. Yeah, the 3rd season was bad, but it doesn't take away how good the first 2 seasons were. And so I still think there's generally a positive feeling about Mandalorian in general, despite the fact that it's coming off of a weak thing. The third reason I think one could be optimistic about Mandalorian not becoming the lowest grossing Star Wars film is it's still Star Wars. And while Solo, a Star Wars story, had that odd thing going on where we literally just had Harrison Ford on screen as Han Solo, and now we're recasting Han Solo and doing a young Han Solo story. That was a bit of an outlier. And I think although Mandalorian and Gorgu is not going to be an $800 million film, I hope I'm wrong about that. I would love it if I'm wrong about that, but I don't think it will be. I think it can still crawl over that $400 million mark, surpassing Star Wars, a Star Wars story. So there you have it. There's a bunch of reasons I feel that Star Wars will come in under the 400 million, and a few reasons I think it'll come in over it. Rob, I pose the question to you. Is it possible here, why or why not, that this Mandalorian and Gorgu movie could actually end up making less than Star Wars or Solo, a Star Wars story?
Well, first of all, I think both sides that you presented are equally valid. I think really, honestly, I think it's too early to tell to make that call because, this was a teaser trailer that they showed at Star Wars Celebration. It was really, like you'd pointed out, it's just a teaser trailer. It's more of an announcement trailer than anything else. We don't know anything about the story other than the fact that he's supposed to be protecting Jabba the Hutt's pit-fighting nephew Hutt. I don't know. I don't think we know enough about the movie to decide one way or another. I think in my mind, I'm leaning that it's not going to make very much money, only because of all the reasons you said. It's a television show. It's basically 2 episodes put together into a movie. And it's not something you can't see unless the story presented is better than the best episodes of The Mandalorian, which we don't know yet. Why make it? I mean, that's going to be a huge criticism. This better be the best Mandalorian story that's been told. Otherwise, why are we watching it on the big screen? Mm-hmm. And that, to me, is the biggest question. And I think it's too early to tell that. If the story turns out to be more season 3 than seasons 1 or 2, there's a big problem there. And I'm not convinced the people in charge know the difference because they gave us season 3. And season 3 had it had more Mandalorians, it had Bo-Katan. Season 3 should have been a banger. And it wasn't. To me, in my mind, the greatest episode of The Mandalorian was that Bill Burr episode. That episode was
great.
That was an incredible bit of Star Wars. That was an incredible bit of science fiction. That was an incredible bit of action.
It actually felt a little bit like Andor.
It felt
episode.
Yes.
Yeah, you 100%. That totally felt like an Andor episode.
And it kicked ass. And I know that might not have been that. It was more somber than the rest of The Mandalorian, but that's what I think this movie needs to deliver. It has to deliver a story that far surpasses what we got on television. Otherwise, people are going to say, and critics are going to say, why did they give us this story? Mm-hmm. And right now, I'm leaning in that direction, that it's not going to do well. That said, I don't really know much about the movie yet. So it's really not fair for me to make those kinds of grand proclamations. So I'm going to say that maybe, and it's my hope, that the movie will really come out and surprise me. I want nothing more than to go to Star Wars in the movie theater and love it. Please, God.
And like you're implying, we also have to keep in mind that it wasn't a good trailer, but it was one trailer.
Yeah, that's it.
The first trailer. So we've got some more stuff to see, and hopefully it'll get better as we go.
John, isn't all of our default positions that we want to see great Star Wars? I mean, my default position is I want to see every franchise give a great installment. So I want to love it. There's no franchise that I want to. It's not even in my mind to want something to fail. I want all franchise properties to be great.
Somebody wrote to me the other day when we were talking about Starfighter. The upcoming Star Wars film, said, "Man, John is really praying this movie's good." I'm like, dude, I pray every movie I go to see is good. I don't want to watch a movie and not enjoy it. Yeah. So I didn't. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Will Mandalorian and Grogu, a continuation of the Mandalorian TV series, will it have enough legs and enough oomph to make more than the current lowest grossing Star Wars live action film, Solo, a Star Wars story? What reasons do you think it won't get to that $400 million mark? What reasons do you feel it'll go over it? I have a few thoughts of it on both sides. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Jimmy Kimmel comes back to television tonight after a very short absence in what is probably going to be one of the most hotly anticipated monologues in late night talk show history. I'm sure it'll be very calm. I'm sure it'll be very measured. It's going to be pretty interesting to see this come back. Disney came out and said that, it's important to keep in mind that when Disney pulled him off the air, they did not say it was permanent, right? They never said his show was canceled. They said they were pulling it off, whatever. And I think that was probably a good strategy to kind of react quickly, but give themselves some wiggle room to kind of figure out how they're going to manage it and what they're going to actually end up doing. Well, they got a lot of pressure from a lot of different people and a lot of different angles. And now Jimmy Kimmel is coming back after reports, and I can't verify independently that this is true or not, after reports that the Disney Plus cancellation page was literally crashing from the amount of people going to cancel Disney Plus after all that. So he's coming back, and he's coming back tonight. Now, this is a wide-ranging thing because, again, we're talking about late-night entertainment that is specifically coming under direct attack by the government, not by... Listen, I have no problem. There's a reason why 99% of all the talking heads or Fox News are all conservative, because that's what Fox News wants to be. And therefore, if they don't want to have somebody on there, and they have one or two voices, but if they don't want to have people on there that don't represent their point of view and don't represent their image, they have every right to do that. They absolutely do. And if they want to get rid of somebody for whatever reasons, that's them. But we're not talking about Fox News. We're talking about the government. And the government has been making direct attacks on anybody who doesn't like their fearless leader, who has been critical of President Trump, to the point that, you know, we have, what's the name of the company again? Nexstar and
Sinclair.
Yeah, Nexstar, who is trying to do an acquisition right now that would put them in a position that would directly violate FCC rules of owning too much of the space. There's a rule in the FCC that one company can't own anymore. What's the number there?
39%. And they want to have that rule rescinded.
Yeah, they're not only seeking permission to do something, they're asking the FCC to turn a blind eye to the actual rules. And so it's not a coincidence.
Before the midterms.
Yeah, before the midterms. It's not a coincidence that when the FCC chair came out, Brennan Carr, and said, I don't know, maybe something should be done about these late night guys, or we might have to get busy over here at the FCC. It's not a surprise that then Nexstar said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Whatever you say, sir, as long as you approve our acquisition and let us break the rules. And they went ahead and they did that. And then Disney, you know, getting their broadcast license threatened, they temporarily pulled Jimmy Kimmel off. Listen, and for any of you who are under the misguided impression that this whole Jimmy Kimmel thing is about anything other than that, guys, they're not even pretending anymore. They're not even hiding it. They're not even trying to act like that's not what's happening now. They're being overt about it. Listen to a couple of these things. So, journalist Brian Stelter, he wrote, I asked a question to the FCC chair, Brennan Carr, if he had any new comment now that ABC had pulled Jimmy Kimmel Show off the air. This is the head of the FCC. This is supposed to be the grown-up in the room. At least pretend like it's about something else. Instead, he posted this. He replied with this. This is clearly, yup, we're getting our way. We're getting our agenda done. That was the Office meme. And I found this out through John Oliver. But an Office meme was his response to it. Like, yep, we're celebrating over here because we're getting our way. They're not even pretending anymore. And then when another person asked him, straight up said, this was all in Project 2025. Project 2025 was, of course, this big, massive document blueprint for establishing an authoritarian dictatorship that Donald Trump swore to God he knew nothing about. Remember that during the elections?
Oh, yeah.
They kept asking him, what about all this nonsense in Project 2025? Oh, no, I don't know anything about Project 25. Oh, yeah, suddenly gets elected and everything in Project 2025 is being implemented. And he starts putting people who are in charge of making Project 2025 in high positions of power. But when this guy wrote to him and said this was all in Project 2025, the head of the FCC literally posted a Jack Nicholson meme doing the big nod. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. Even Donald Trump himself, this is from the BBC. Donald Trump himself isn't even hiding the fact that he has a mandate to eliminate and get rid of anybody that is critical of him. Said this, I have read some places that network, remember, this is the same guy who got on national television and said an immigrant community was stealing and eating people's pets because he read it in a random Facebook post. Even when the local government of that town, even when the local police department of that town corrected him and said there's no truth to that, they kept saying, no, these immigrants are eating people's pets because he read it someplace. Anyway, Donald Trump said, I have read someplace that the networks were 97% against me. Again, 97% negative, and yet I won easily. The president said, they give me only bad publicity and press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their licenses should be taken away. They're giving me bad press. I think we should take away their licenses. Guys, they're not even trying to hide it. They're not even trying to pretend anymore. They know they have so many people in their pockets already that it doesn't matter anymore. And now that sort of stuff, and this has been going on in other areas of society and life for a long time, but now it's completely crossing over into entertainment. Now it's affecting everything. So facing a lot of backlash, Disney decided, we're going to put Jimmy back on air, and we're going to put him back on air tonight. I know a lot of people are going to tune in with a lot of interest to see what he's going to say, and also with great interest to see what he's not going to say. Because I have to believe, Rob, that in the agreement for him to get back on the air, I have to believe there was some discussion between the people at Disney and ABC and Jimmy Kimmel of, okay, let's not cross certain lines. Maybe there are things we don't do. Like, I'm sure Jimmy Kimmel wouldn't come back if he wasn't allowed to be critical of the president, but I'll be curious to see what kind of lines he decides not to cross at that point. And then again, President Trump put out on his social media, it's like, now we got to go after they announced that Jimmy Kimmel's off the air. He specifically came out and said, okay, now we got to go after the two remaining guys. We got to go after Jimmy Fallon. And we got to go after, the other guy who used to be on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. Seth
Meyers. He specifically called them out. It's like, hey, now that we got those two, let's go after these two.
And don't forget the ladies on The View. They're next on the chopping block, too.
Yeah, and they've been on his list for a long time. So it's going to be interesting to see how this, as the world of politics, something we try to stay separate from so much on this show, but when politics is just stomping all over entertainment, it kind of becomes something we need to address. So he's coming back tonight. It's going to be interesting to see how he's going to handle it, what he's going to say specifically. Are they going to de-escalate or are they going to escalate? I don't know. But anyway, Rob, the campaign worked. Jimmy Kimmel is back, at least for now. What are you expecting to see coming out of this tonight?
Well, first of all, I find this whole situation very, very interesting. You know who we haven't heard from during this whole kerfluffle is Jimmy Kimmel himself. He was very careful because there was all kinds of legal ramifications to what they've done, what things that were actionable. I'm sure Disney didn't talk to Jimmy Kimmel at all. They talked to Jimmy Kimmel's lawyers because I'm sure Jimmy Kimmel lawyered up immediately because none of this, there was nothing going on that was, a lot of people said, well, Jimmy Kimmel lied about something he said. Even that was questionable. And
okay, let me address that just for a quick second. Did Jimmy Kimmel get a fact wrong? He did. 100% he did. He got a fact wrong.
Was it a lie?
Using that as a, it wasn't a lie. He got something wrong. But for people using that as a pretext, I just want to remind everybody that for years, Fox News intentionally, knowingly, and purposefully kept pushing and propping up the stolen election. And it was determined in court that they knew it was a lie, and they kept pushing it for years anyway, and it ended up costing them billions of dollars.
Yeah. Well, it's going to still
billions of dollars.
Smartmatic still has a suit,
and not only that, Fox News
still that,
so they're still paying.
Fox News isn't even news. They're called an entertainment show now.
Right.
It's not really a news show.
And that's Fox that called themselves that. But I want to point out that even though that happened, not once did the government pressure the FCC to take away Fox's broadcast license.
No.
That never came up, despite years and years and years of intentionally and on purpose purporting a falsehood. The government never stepped in and said, let's take away their license. So that's just a pretense here. Donald Trump, the head of the FCC, they're not even hiding it now. They're saying, yeah, we just want these guys gone because we want them gone. Anyway, sorry, Rob, please continue.
Well, but you're absolutely right. They wanted to silence. Now, what's really interesting is Nexstar and Sinclair have said, at least they have as of this morning, that they are not going to put Jimmy Kimmel on their affiliates today. So Jimmy Kimmel is there's a significant portion, I think, including in the Seattle area, that we won't be seeing Jimmy Kimmel, or they won't be seeing Jimmy Kimmel. So, I mean, at the end of the day, now you have somebody coming back, whatever. You now have a group of people that are controlling affiliates that are not allowing a voice on those affiliates, which is really, really disconcerting. I don't know what that means in the long run, but now, I mean, are we squelching speech?
Well, here, let me ask you this question, Rob. Do you have, what percentage of doubt do you have in your mind, Rob, that Nexstar is going to get their FCC approval for that acquisition?
After what
does anybody have any doubts now that despite the fact that this acquisition clearly violates the FCC rules, does anybody have any doubt that since they're being obedient little lapdogs, that they are absolutely 100% going to get their FCC approval?
After what the Supreme Court said about the FTC yesterday, I'm absolutely positive that Nexstar is going to get exactly what they want, which across the board is not a great precedent, because the whole point was to prevent one voice from dominating the American landscape, literally the American landscape. That's why the 39% rule exists. You take that away and suddenly you only hear one side of a story, and that's never good for a democracy or our great republic.
Yeah, and listen, let me be clear about something. I'm not a big Jimmy Kimmel fan. I don't mind Jimmy Kimmel. I find some of his stuff funny, some of his stuff not funny. I'm not exactly the world's biggest Jimmy Kimmel fan. Listen, if Disney in a vacuum had come out and said, hey, you know what? Jimmy Kimmel's had a great run, but we're going to go in a different direction now. If that was done in a vacuum, I wouldn't have even batted an eye. And a lot of people have thrown at me this idea, well, John, where was your outrage when Gina Carano and blah, blah. Guys, I just said, I don't mind if Fox wants to hire or fire people who they don't feel properly represents their identity. Clearly, they do that because 99% of the heads on there are absolutely conservative. And that's fine. They have every right to do that. I've also always believed that Disney has the right. If somebody who is representing them represents something that is completely opposite of what their identity is and what their principles are and what their mandate is, I have no problem they do that. But it's different when it's the government. The First Amendment is about the government. It's not about what individuals do or what companies do or corporations. It's about protecting their free speech from censorship from the government. And that's why there is what's the big Republican congressman? He's from Texas.
It was Ted Cruz, Senator.
Ted Cruz, the maggiest of the MAGA guys. Ted Cruz said on an interview yesterday, listen, I don't like Jimmy Kimmel. He was honest. He said, I don't like Jimmy Kimmel, and I'm glad that he's gone. This was obviously before they announced that he was going to be back on. He said, I don't like Jimmy Kimmel, and I'm glad he's gone. He said, but for government to start stepping in and telling broadcasters and entertainers and going after them for having critical views of us, he said, that's scary, and that's not going to be good for us conservatives if we do that. Even Ted Cruz came out and said that. So again, I just think it's going to be really interesting to see how all this kind of goes around and how much further, because this particular administration wants to go after everybody in entertainment who's been critical of the president. And it's going to be interesting to see where our other conservatives going to step in, like Ted Cruz and hopefully others, or our other conservatives going to step in and be the voice of reason and draw a line in the sand. Are the courts going to step in and do their jobs to uphold the Constitution? I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. This is far more political than I'm very comfortable getting, but it is in the world of entertainment.
But it is a legitimate entertainment news story. I mean, it is.
Well, if they start, because if they start pulling licenses, then it's not shows; it's entire slates of shows that we all watch.
And you're talking about, you're looking at affiliates, and it'll be interesting. They pull the license from one affiliate. Will another affiliate come online? Can they move? Can ABC move to different affiliates? I mean, all of this is very, very interesting, and it's all something that we should be watching closely.
Yeah, somebody in the live chat is saying, I'm sorry, this is a political commentary show. When you talk politics, you alienate half your audience. I don't care. Please
but we're
stop.
not.
I love your show.
We're not alienating half our audience because Republicans are coming out, like we just stated, and said this is a First Amendment thing, and they don't like Jimmy Kimmel, but they're like, yeah, but Trump shouldn't be threatening broadcast. And it isn't just politics. Like I was saying, if ABC goes down, well, that's a whole lot of entertainment jobs in the can. This affects everything.
Yeah, right. This is an entertainment issue. And by the way, I have just been showing you the words that Donald Trump said. I'm showing you the words that Ted Cruz said. I'm showing you the words the chair of the FCC said. If you have a problem with that, you take it up with them. I'm just showing you what they did and they said. And it is directly impacting the world of entertainment. And I don't like talking about it, to be honest with you. And if me just telling you and showing you and re-bringing up what they said, if that alienates you, then you're not the type of person I want watching my show anyway, to be honest with you. Like you can be supportive of them and be okay that I'm expressing a different point of view. That's great. I love it. But if you say that alienates you, then, bye. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Jimmy Kimmel returns to the air tonight, and I'm thinking it's going to be one of the most watched, whether it's on YouTube or whatever. I'm thinking it's going to be one of the most watched monologues, and I'm very curious. How do you think that monologue is going to go? Do you think he's going to go right at it? Do you think he's going to be more tempered and try to de-escalate things? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, guys, let's move. One of the OG Avengers, Jeremy Renner, recently made a little bit of news because, a story came out that he only got offered, in his own words, half of what he got offered to play Hawkeye in season 1 in season 2, even though it was going to be a longer shooting schedule and more work. They only offered him, in his words, half of what they were going to pay him before.
Eddie.
Now since then, I want half Eddie. That's a great line. Kudos to anybody who knows that reference. So in recent months, though, his words have sounded a lot more like things are good between him and Marvel and they're looking at things. Well, now it sounds like they're actually talking and discussing Hawkeye season 2, and this could come to pass. This comes to us from Comic Book Movie, who wrote the following. Talking to a Florida SuperCon this weekend via Popverse, Renner reflected on Hawkeye by saying, "It was great to dive more into the character a bit. In a world that's more grounded. To me, it was a lot more fun to do and more to explore the character, which is nice. I've always wanted to do more of that stuff. And then there's the incident that happened," talking about his accident. He continued, "And I have to get my body in shape to be able to sling arrows again and dive around and do all this stuff. But I'll get there. I'm doing good." Now he goes on to say, "I'll always dance with Marvel. I'll always dance with them for sure when appropriate, when it's rocking," Renner noted. "I'm happy to do season 2 of Hawkeye. I love the character. I think there's so much for us to do. We waded through many discussions about the shape of the next season," he confirmed. "It's getting my body right and getting everything right for that. The timing of it, that will come. And if there's still a need, want, and desire for it, then yeah." All right. There's a couple of big things in here that he's kind of dropping. Number one, saying, "I'll always want to do Marvel stuff," which I think is key, especially coming off of the thing when they only offered him half to do the second season of the first. I'm sure that's been rectified. Second thing, he's confirmed that they've already been discussing season 2. They're already wading through it and coming up with all the kind of stuff. And that those talks must be so promising that he's now saying, "I'm now getting my body back ready for it. I'm getting myself physically ready to do it." So if you had asked me before, Rob, do I think there's going to be a Hawkeye season 2 with Jeremy Renner? I would have said, yeah, I think so. But this kind of just puts a lock on it. I think it's absolutely true that we're going to be getting it. I think his comments really affirm that, even though Disney's not ready to make any kind of an official announcement. But it brings up this question, Rob. Is it important that Jeremy Renner come back? And I want to propose that it's absolutely important for him to come back. And I've got 2 reasons why. Reason number 1, I think it's important for him to come back, is because he's Jeremy Renner. He's an Academy-nominated actor. He's just great. He brings a heavyweight mentality to the MCU. Having a guy like Jeremy Renner around is always good. So it's important just on that level. Actually, I'm going to give you 3 reasons. The second reason is he's still Hawkeye. Now, I know they're doing a lot of work to establish my wife's favorite actress, Haley Steinfeld, as Kate Bishop and everything, but I think she's going to be Kate Bishop. I don't think they ever got the audience to the point with season 1 that she's Hawkeye. Hawkeye's Hawkeye. She's Kate Bishop. I think in the end, I get it. John, in the comics, I get it, but we're talking about the movies. So I think it's even important for Kate Bishop that Jeremy Renner is around to prop up and propel that character. I think the best thing you can do if you really want to establish Kate Bishop is having Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye around. So I think that's important. The third reason, and I've mentioned this about Chris Hemsworth before, the MCU right now is drastically low on its supply of OG Avengers. It's a lot of new faces around, and new faces are great. I often compare this in sports. You want a locker room that has a good mix of young rookies, guys who've been around for a couple of years, and seasoned veterans. These are the teams that you want to have that balance. And right now, Robert Downey Jr. is coming back, but Tony's gone. I expect we're going to see Chris Evans, but really that's probably going to be short-lived. And we lost Steve Rogers to old man Steve Rogers. Black Widow is gone. Hulk is going to family barbecues now. You've got Chris Evans and you've got Jeremy Renner. And just for the sake of that balance of having like the seasoned vet, the OG, one of the OGs still around in the universe, I think is important once you start populating it with a bunch of new faces too, to have them in there. So I think he is coming back. I think it's pretty much affirmed here, Rob. And not only do I think he's coming back, I think it's important that he comes back. Anyway, Rob, you read his comments. What do you think about him?
I think you're absolutely right. Not only that, one of the things I love about the way they portrayed Hawkeye in the movies and his show is that he's a family man. He's one of the only people that has the grounding of an actual family. And he's a SHIELD agent. He's probably the most human and relatable of all the Avengers. And that's why when they opened Endgame with his family getting dusted, and him going off on a 5-year bender on eliminating criminals, it was sad, and it had real pathos. And when he came back, and you could see he was kind of a broken man, and then losing Black Widow, and it was all that stuff was really great.
This haircut says I've lost it all.
And he really, he's just a great, like you said, he's a great, powerful actor, and I think that he's look, we met him when he was first in Thor. First Thor movie, he cameoed in Thor.
When Skarsgård says, the Hawk.
I think that we really need him. And I'm happy to see that. I think we probably will get him back.
Yeah. All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? It's really two questions. After reading his recent comments, do you believe we are getting a Hawkeye season 2 and Jeremy Renner will be a part of it? Yes or no? And then secondly, do you find, like I do, that it's important for him to come back for the MCU? Or maybe you don't feel that way. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, we're going to play a little game of overreaction. We're also going to talk about some James Gunn comments about casting the new Batman. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at PrizePicks.
Guys, we want to thank the sponsor of today's episode, PrizePicks. Look, you and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right actually means you win. And with football back, there is no better time to get in on the action. You guys know I've been using PrizePicks for a while now, and it's honestly the most fun I've had engaging with the new football season already. For example, this weekend, I had Josh Allen throwing for more than 270 passing yards and Baker Mayfield having more than 2.5 passing touchdowns, and boom, I won on both. Building your lineups on PrizePicks is fast, simple, and honestly extremely fun. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and if you're right, you win. What's even better is that PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still win even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Plus, they've even got this thing called injury reboots, so if a player goes down in the first half, it won't count against you. And PrizePicks operates in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. So download the app today and use code CAMPEA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CAMPEA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right.
And thank you to our friends at PrizePicks for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down, we're going to play a little overreaction. We went into our community tab, the post tab on our YouTube channel. We asked our viewers, hey, do you have any big, bold statements, some hot takes that you want to make a statement about? And Rob and I will adjudicate whether we think your statement is an overreaction or not. Jonathan's picked some out. So, Jonathan, what do we got?
All right, our first overreaction. Well, is it or not? You tell me, Rob. When Al says Hollywood will put a closer eye on anime after the success of Demon Slayer Infinity Castles.
Oh, I think that's absolutely true. I don't think that's an overreaction at all. I think Hollywood has put their eyes on anime for a while, but unfortunately, John went and saw Howl's Moving Castle when they brought Miyazaki's work, when Disney brought it under the when they did that at Pixar, and John Lasseter oversaw that. They didn't do very well, because it was kind of before its time. And now anime, obviously, Demon Slayer, the series is over, and Demon Slayer is the first of 3 movie-only events, so it's a trilogy. That's why it's been doing so well. It's going to end up making $700 million. So I think all eyes are looking to Japan, wondering, well, how can we jump in on this bandwagon?
Yeah, this isn't an overreaction at all. I mean, listen, this thing came out and made $70 million opening weekend in the North American box office. Now, in its second weekend, it had a 75% drop. Okay, fine. It's still number one, though, even with a 75% drop. And the thing is making gobs of money. Now, look, I say this as somebody who's not, I mean, there's a number of animes that I completely love, but I'm not generally a big anime fan. And even as somebody who's not a particular fan and I'm not the target audience, this is awesome news for fans of that stuff. And listen, they've tried for many years to get this to really get a footing in North America, and they've never been able to, Rob, as you alluded to. But it feels like it's now its time. Its time has come. Now, does that mean that any anime stuff that they put out in theater is going to make several $100 million? No, absolutely not. But I 100%, because we talked about this the other week, Rob. It's not just what's it called?
Demon Slayer.
It's also Demon Hunters.
Yeah,
again, you've got the number one thing in the box office right now is Demon Slayers. And for the longest time, for a couple of months, the number one thing on Netflix was K-pop Demon Hunters. Its time has come, and absolutely, Rob, every studio is chasing and always does chase the newest trend, what's hot, what's going to make us money. And I think you'd be a fool not to know that every single studio has some boardrooms dedicated to meetings about how they get their foot in that pool too.
And John, one of my favorite, the great Satoshi Kon, rest in peace, who did shows like Paranoia Agent, his movie Perfect Blue, which is incredible. It's like a thriller. It deals with celebrity, and that's being re-released in theaters in a new 4K transfer in just a couple weeks. So we're going to be seeing, and that's classic. I mean, not 70s or 80s, but it goes back a little ways. So we're going to start seeing, I'd love to see Weathering with You, or I remember when Belle came out and it was on IMAX screens like K-pop Demon Slayer is. So hopefully this will be a new trend, and we're going to get to see the best of the last 30 years of anime. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. What's next?
All right, next up, is this an overreaction or not, John? When we hear from my name is Jeff, Secret Wars will gross more. That always brings a smile to my face. Secret Wars will gross more at the box office than Endgame.
I'm going to say that's an overreaction. Now, I think Secret Wars, look, a lot is dependent on how Secret Wars is going to do, right? Like Spider-Man Brand New Day better be good. And Doomsday sure as hell better be good. But let's, for the sake of the argument, say that they are. I still think it's an overreaction to think it's going to make more than Endgame. Remember, Endgame is the highest grossing comic book film of all time. It flirted with the $3 billion mark. I mean, it well exceeded the $2 billion mark. But the reality is, when Endgame came out, the environment was different. Marvel was hot. Marvel was putting out banger after banger, and everybody loved it. That was just the environment. And it was pre-pandemic, when more people were going to the movie theaters than are going now. And that's just not the case now. So even if Brand New Day is good, And even if Doomsday is good, it's still not as good of an environment as existed when Endgame came out. So I think it can be huge. Rob, I think it's going to be monstrous. I think it's going to make huge box office. But to say it's going to be the highest grossing comic book film of all time, given today's environment, I think that's an overreaction. What about you?
I do too. It just doesn't, like you pointed out, it doesn't have the momentum. The entire last 5 years of Marvel has been relatively anemic in terms of the MCU. There's been some high points. I mean, certainly Spider-Man No Way Home made almost $2 billion. And then we had things, I mean, Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, I thought were solid entries into the MCU, but they weren't burning up the box office. But it just doesn't have the headwinds that the MCU used to have. You know, there's just not a lot.
Yeah, and I don't think two films, I don't think Brand New Day, to your point, and Doomsday is enough of a build-up to get it back to that it was when Endgame got in there.
And even if those movies as themselves turn out to be great films, they still don't have the momentum.
Exactly. 100%.
You know, and you're asking the, because this is about Secret Wars, this question, you're asking two movies to generate what 10 years of the MCU did for Infinity War and Endgame.
Yep, 100%.
It's impossible.
All right, what's next?
Okay, next up, we're going back to you, Rob, on this one. Is this an overreaction or not? When we hear from Noah Drayson, Together and Weapons are in the top 5 greatest horror movies of the decade.
Well, we're only in 2025, but I would say they're definitely in contention in the last 5 years, certainly. What I love about both Together and Weapons is that they're original visions. They're not part of a franchise. But there's been other Zach Cregger's first movie, Barbarian, maybe not as accomplished as Weapons, but there's been a lot of great horror, you know, and I would have to look at a list in front of me, but in the last 5 years, I think Together and Weapons are certainly definitely up there. But I would have to look at a list because there's been a lot, and remember, there's been a lot of great international horror as well.
Overreaction or not?
Overreaction.
You know what? I'm going to say it's an overreaction too. Now, I'm going to assume you, by the past decade, I'm going to assume you don't just mean from 2020 to 2030. I'm going to assume you mean of the last 10 years. Weapons is great. Look, and I love Together. I love it. But there have been, like Rob said, there have been a lot of great horror films the last 10 years. And I think to say that both of these are top 5, as much as I love both of them, yeah, I'm going to go with Rob on this. I'm going to say that's an overreaction right now. All right. What's next?
All right, real quick. Thank you to Motown Mo for the donation there.
The badge, the super chat badge. Thank you, Motown Mo.
Very nice of you. Okay, so back to you, John. When we ask, is this an overreaction from June Man? Lanterns is going to be better than Peacemaker.
So, before answering, just need to put it on the table that these are going to be two very different shows, right? Lanterns, we've already heard from people in DC that it's going to have a True Detective kind of feel to it. And I'm sure there's going to be humor in it, but it's not going to be Peacemaker kind of humor. Lanterns is going to be more like True Detective, while Peacemaker is more of a straight comedy with some good action and things like that too. So they're going to be very, very different shows. But man, when I look at the people behind it, it all depends on your personal preference. But I think it's not an overreaction to say that Lanterns is going to be even better. I actually think it will be. And I say this as somebody who loves Peacemaker. I love this show. And I actually think Lanterns has a really good shot. When you look at all the people involved with it, I think Lanterns has a good shot of being even better than it. Now, that doesn't guarantee it, but it's got a good enough chance that I think saying that Lanterns will be better than Peacemaker is not an overreaction. I don't know, Rob, what about you?
I think you're right. And I think the really interesting thing about Lanterns is it's going to be the first time we've seen anything from the new DC universe that's not in James Gunn's box. You know, the James Gunn box and how he does things and delivers it to us. We've got Superman and 2 seasons of Peacemaker. You know, that's the flavor of that, the James Gunn flavor, certainly there. Lanterns is going to be something different. And I'm really going to be curious to see how that new flavor exists in the same roll of candy with James Gunn's version or vision for the DC universe. And I think there's a distinct possibility Lanterns could surprise us all. or not. We'll have to see. I mean, I'm really excited for it, so I think that there definitely is a great... If it's not better than Peacemaker, it's going to be so different than Peacemaker that it's going to be fascinating and pretty interesting, I'm sure, to watch.
Yeah, and remember, we got several projects that are coming in now. Like, I think it was important to start the new DCU with James Gunn's fingerprints.
Yes.
But he's got several projects. Like, Supergirl is going to be very different than Superman was.
Yeah.
And we've got Lanterns, and then let's not forget about Clayface.
Right.
That's being described as a body horror film. So you're right. I think it's a great observation. It's going to be neat to see how James Gunn now starts putting out pictures that aren't in his more well-known and recognizable wheelhouse. All right. What's next?
All right. Our final overreaction, Rob, you're gonna end this with us. Is this an overreaction or not? When Tucker Hall says Toy Story 5 will not make $1 billion at the box office.
You know what? Like Jimmy C or C Note, I'm never going to bet against the Toy Story franchise. So I think that is an overreaction. I think Toy Story 5 could definitely make $1 billion if it's great.
You know what? I'm going to say it's not an overreaction. Now, listen, I think Toy Story 5 will be a big hit. It will be very, very successful. But again, to me, and I know I come back to this a lot, it's about the environment in which it's coming out in. You know, Toy Story 4 came out on the heels of Toy Story 3, which a lot of people thought was the best Toy Story movie. And I think even though I like Toy Story 4 very much, I think most of us agree it was not their best film. A number of years have passed, and we're in an environment right now where fewer people are going to the movies than when Toy Story 4 came out. So I expect this movie to do very well and make tons of money. But I think there's a good chance it does not get to that $1 billion mark. So I'm going to say it's not an overreaction.
Oh, okay.
All right, guys. And that wraps up today's session of Overreaction. Thank you to all you guys who sent in those scenarios and those hot takes for us to say whether you were overreacting or not. And make sure you guys jump down to the comments below and tell us if you think those statements are overreactions or not. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, one of the big things in the realm of DC right now that everybody's kind of waiting on is who is going to be Batman? And when are we going to get news about Batman? And, you know, we've already heard some big names say that they would probably like to play. Reacher wants to be Batman, although he's pretty much confirmed he won't be it now, but that he will be in the DCU at some point. Alan Ritchson is going to be in the DCU at some point, he says, just probably not going to be Batman. Well, James Gunn was recently asked about this whole thing, about who's going to be his Batman. Does he have an idea yet on who he's going to cast? And he said some things that are pretty interesting. He said this. I mean, do I have an idea about actors to play Batman? Absolutely, I do. I have guys that I like. I have guys that are at the top of the list for me, just like I had people who are at the top of the list for Superman. But he says, where I lost my, but they aren't David Cornsweet. They didn't get the job. So people can guess, and maybe they'll be right about certain things. I don't know. He goes on to say, it's unlikely that I'm going to hire someone who's like, oh, Sylvester Stallone is Batman, which is funny because he's had Sylvester Stallone in his Guardians movies. We're just hiring him. He's not going to audition. I'm making up a huge star that doesn't audition. It's unlikely that Batman's going to be one of those guys. It's possible. I know, like, one actor in particular who is a pretty big star that wants to be Batman. We've talked about it, but I'm not sure that's the case. You know, it's such a terrible answer, but it's an honest answer. That's the truth. All right. Couple of delicious things here to kind of dissect and get into. Number one, I like his philosophy here. It says, listen, I've got a list of guys that I think would be really good, but you know, he had a list of guys, and then he came across David Cornsweet, and David Cornsweet was just the right guy to play Superman, and clearly he was right, and he went with that. So there's a couple things. One, he says, there's a really big movie star who has told me he wants to be Batman, and we've talked about it. Who might that movie star be? I don't think he's talking about Alan Ritchson. That's already out there. That's already public, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a guess who I think it is. I think the guy he's talking about is Jake Gyllenhaal.
That's what I was going to say too.
You were going to say the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Gyllenhaal. Actually, I'm seeing a few people in the live chat are saying the same thing. Yeah, I would bet dollars to dimes that Jake Gyllenhaal has specifically approached James Gunn and expressed, or at least had his agent get in touch with him and expressed his interest in playing Batman.
Yeah.
And listen, I've thought for many years that Jake Gyllenhaal would be a great Batman. And watching Jake Gyllenhaal in Roadhouse has not diminished that opinion at all. I think he could bring the physicality. I think he could be he'd be a very good Bruce Wayne and a very good Batman. I think he'd be great. There are several guys that I think would be great, but Jake Gyllenhaal is definitely one of them. So let the speculation abound about who the big star. I don't know. Maybe it's Chris, not Hemsworth, Chris Pratt. Maybe it's Chris Pratt wants to be Batman. I mean, who doesn't want to be Batman? So let the speculation abound about who that big star is that wants to be Batman.
He could pull off a Bruce Wayne too, if you see him.
I mean, look at his picture.
Gyllenhaal.
Oh yeah,
Bruce Wayne with a beard. Yeah. Come on, look at that.
Yeah, I buy it. I would buy that. I mean, again, I think there are other guys who could be it. I see some people in the live chat saying maybe Austin Butler, Brandon Skellner, who is just so good in Drop, Glenn Powell. There's a lot of big names.
Yeah.
But the other interesting thing that he dropped there, other than the fact that he's got a big movie star who wants to be Batman, is I don't think it's going to be one of those guys. I don't think it's going to be this big, massive name. I could come and say Sylvester Stallone is going to be. Now, he's not ruling it out, right? He's not ruling it out. He didn't say it's absolutely not going to be somebody you know. It's not going to be a big star. But, going back to I'm just going to bring it up here again. He says it's not going to be one of those guys, but possible. It's possible, but it's unlikely, he says, that Batman is going to be one of those guys. It's not going to be like some Stallone level superstar. And so he might go the same route that he went with Superman when he casted David Cornsweet. And that worked out pretty good for David Cornsweet. So let's see where he goes. Anyway, Rob, so let me go over to you on this. Number one, who do you think the big star is that James Gunn might be? You got some theories other than Jake Gyllenhaal?
No, I mean, that's the first thing that came to mind. I mean, by the way, sorry.
I was just say, what do you think about, does it seem like he's implying that it's not going to be like some big major superstar he gets to play football? What do you think about that?
Well, I think Jake Gyllenhaal's 44 years old. And I think that Gunn wants to have somebody younger to play Batman, so he's more of a contemporary with David Cornsweet's Superman, somebody in their early 30s. And that makes sense to me, and I don't know who that would be, but I think it would be like, I've really enjoyed seeing Robert Pattinson play a younger Batman. And I think the tone of the DC universe lends itself well to a younger Batman to go along with that younger Superman to be one half of World's Finest. And to be honest, I've been thinking, who would that be? And I don't know. I think just like David Cornsweet came out of, well, not relative obscurity, but he's a great theatrical actor, apparently. I've never seen him on stage, but apparently he is. He's a consummate actor, and I thought he was terrific as Superman. I think Gunn is going to go that route. He's going to find somebody that we don't know how capable they are of playing this role. And I'll bet a lot of people are going to go, really? That's who's going to play Batman? So I think that's by the way, Maggie Gyllenhaal's directorial effort, The Bride, the trailer dropped today, and we saw that at CinemaCon. John, remember how insane that was?
We talked about that trailer.
And Jake Gyllenhaal's in the movie too. I just thought I'd bring that up.
Yep, Christian Bale and others. Anyway, one of the things we do keep in mind, I don't know if he's necessarily going to go for a Batman in his early 30s, because remember, he's going to have a son.
Right.
It's a Brave and the Bold. He's going to have like a kid who's probably, I'm going to venture that he's going to be a little bit older than what Damian is traditionally. I'm thinking we're going to get a Damian who's like 14 or 15.
Could be.
And so you're going to have a Batman that's old enough for that. So I could see them having a Bruce that's 5, 6, 7, 8 years older than say Superman is, or maybe they want to make them completely contemporary with each other. So it'll be interesting to see which way they go with that. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about James Gunn's comments here? Who do you think might be the big star he's referring to that wants to be Batman? And what do you think about him implying that it looks like the odds are he's going to go for somebody who's maybe not a big superstar name, much like he went with David Cornsweet, but he's not ruling it out either. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we got to do two quick things. First of all, it's been good afternoon to Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, thanks so much for being here, man. And we're not getting you back again till Monday, right?
No,
I'm back Friday.
I'm going to Atlanta to be cross-examined in a court case that deals with that Star Trek fan film Axanar that I was involved with 10 years ago. Wow.
Well, and when are you back? So when are you back?
I'm back Saturday.
Is it Monday?
Saturday. No, I'm back
on
Saturday.
On the show Monday.
Yeah, so I'll be back on Monday.
Right, you'll be back on the
show. But I'll miss
Monday.
you guys.
So
I could do a meetup in Atlanta.
Maybe you should.
I don't know.
So have a good one and safe travels, man. I'll see you when I get back. And of course, the second thing we need to do is thank the other sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friend at BetterHelp.
Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. You know, it's kind of funny where we sometimes go looking for advice. I've caught myself asking the manager at the gym about work-life balance stuff, or venting to a stranger in line at the movies. And listen, those conversations can be fun, but let's be honest, not everyone is the right one to help with the big things like anxiety, stress, or relationships. See, that's where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp has been around for over 10 years and has helped more than 5 million people. They've got over 30,000 licensed therapists, all fully credentialed and working under a strict code of conduct. And this is the really cool part. They do the matching work for you. You fill out a short questionnaire about what you're looking for, and their system finds somebody who fits your specific needs. And listen, if that first match doesn't feel right, you can switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. It's all online, super flexible, so whether you're on the go or at home, you can connect at the click of a button. That means you can actually fit therapy into your real life. So listen, don't just lean on your group chat or your barber for advice. Find your right match with BetterHelp. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Campea. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea.
And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down, we're not going to move on to take your tip questions. How do you get a tip question on the show? Well, that's simple. Simply use our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. Send on in your question there. If you send it in while we're live, we'll address it on that show. And if you send one in when we're not live, we'll just get around to on the next episode. So you can use this tip link anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show. All right, Jonathan, what we got up first?
First up, Anonymous John, what's been your favorite theater you've been to on the meetup? So just
you know theater. What? Yeah, the theaters have been great. Mm-hmm. I've really liked the Regal theaters we've been to. I got to tell you, the biggest pleasant surprise one for me was the one we did in Salt Lake City. It's a theater chain called the Megaplex.
Yeah.
And it was beautifully laid out. The theater itself.
Yeah. It just even going off of your fan photo that you post for each stop, the outside looked really nice.
It had this gorgeous outdoor courtyard in front of the theater with couches and all this kind of stuff. Inside had lounge areas and movie memorabilia. And then when you get into the theater, it's full leather recliners with tabletops as well to sit all your food on. It was a really good experience. I really like that one a lot. But again, the Regal theaters I thought was great. The couple of AMC theaters I've been to were really top notch, other than the fact of 30 minutes of commercials and trailers. But other than that, they've all been really, really good.
All right. We got Raymond who says, I know it's a long drive back to LA, but I'll make some suggestions to make the trip interesting. So this was yesterday, but in Seattle, go to Pike's Place Market, look for Oriental Mart for Filipino food. But in Elk Grove, Sacramento, I don't know if you're coming through the 5 freeway, but there's Horns Barbecue, more later.
Yeah, I'm actually on the 5 right now.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I just jumped off the 5 to park in this Walmart parking lot.
You just got your car on autopilot while you're... Can you imagine?
I'm currently my van is a Tesla. It's auto, it's drive. Oh man, that would make life so great if I could just tell the car to take me home. And listen, if I want to be back home, by the time Ann gets home, like Thursday night, I'm not going to be able to make any pit stops. Like literally, I'm stopping to sleep and I'm stopping to do the show.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it, unfortunately. But yes, next time I'm going to schedule some buffer time so we can spend some more time in the cities and enjoy them a little bit more. And by the way, Raymond, it was great meeting you at one of our meetups there. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Dildar who says, I'm still sad I couldn't make it to the meetup for him. But after hearing how terrible it was, sounds like I dodged a bullet. So at least something positive came out in not being able to go. So thanks. Hope we can meet for a better movie in the future.
You know what's funny, though? I remember when we all came out of the movie and we all gathered for the movie meetup in front of the theater after the movie was done. The first thing I said was, guys, I'm so sorry for that movie. And what they said was actually good points. They said, you know what, though? It was so bad. It was kind of fun to all watch together. And now we got something to talk about.
Exactly what I was thinking. I was like, you know what? This could have been one of those bad movies where everyone just has fun.
Yeah. And we did. And we all had fun joking about it afterwards. And it was at least not boring. So I'll give it that. All right. What's next?
We got Bricktop, IP Pulse Check. Do you think Conan the Barbarian could ever get a reboot? The source material has some amazing world building. I think a TV show would fit best. Any thoughts? I know Rob's on board.
I mean, not today. I think people, if they announced a Conan thing, I think people would look at it kind of cringy. But at some point, yeah, I think at some point you could do it. And listen, but I don't think you can do it as long as Arnold Schwarzenegger's still around. I really don't. I think Conan, even the IP itself, is forever going to be living in his shadow. They tried doing it with Jason Momoa a few years ago, and that didn't go over so well. Even though I thought Jason was a pretty good Conan, the movie wasn't great, and it didn't get a great response. And people, there was no evidence that there was a hunger for it. But at some point, yeah, I think at some point something could happen. All right, what's next?
Okay. Anonymous says, hi, John. I know anime is not your thing, so you might not be aware that Demon Slayer Infinity Castle is a trilogy, with the film taking the #1 spot again and grossing $555 million globally, still earning the final film could be the first billion-dollar anime. So I guess there's 2 more coming.
Yeah, well, Rob mentioned that a little bit earlier because we were talking that there are still a couple more coming. And with the success of the first one, the other 2 coming is not in question. Those are definitely going to happen. And again, again, they're not movies that are made for me. They don't interest me, but I think it's awesome. And I'm thrilled for especially moviegoers who have been really waiting for this type of content, this type of material to get a foothold and have some success and be happier for it. All right, what's next?
Dildar's back and says, just started Sons of Anarchy. I'm loving it so far and just learned it's an adaptation of Hamlet, which makes it even better. Cannot wait to see more. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it's not based on Hamlet,
right,
but it is absolutely inspired by Hamlet. And once you know that, you can't unsee it when you watch the show. Now, it's not just a direct, translation of Hamlet by any means, but once you know that the showrunner who created it, Kurt, what was Kurt's last name? I forget, Sutter? Sutter. Kurt Sutter. I'm going to say Kurt Sutter was the guy who created Sons of Anarchy. Yeah, Hamlet was kind of his base model for that. Again, it is one of my top 3 all-time favorite television shows. Kurt Sutter was Kurt Sutter. Yeah. It is one of my top 3 all-time favorite television shows. I don't care what anybody says. It's a masterpiece of a show. It's absolutely wonderful, and I love it. All right, what's next?
Anonymous, hi, John. I was wondering if Super Bowl with viewership of 120 million is a great time for new trailers. Do you think Hollywood should consider Champions League final with 400 million people watching, or a World Cup final with staggering 2 billion to do the same?
The problem is the broadcast of those. I believe the broadcast of those are divvied up from country to country, I think. I could be mistaken about that. But yeah, why not? Listen, though, they do put most of their focus and their emphasis on the marketing in the North American audience, because that audience with all those people are primarily in the same market. And it's kind of become a tradition, right? Like, a lot of people now watch the Super Bowl that aren't even interested in football. A lot of people today actually watch the Super Bowl for the trailers and for the commercials. It's crazy. But it's kind of become a big thing like that. So could that spread over to something like other events like that? It could, but you're not going to get anything that's as focused on one demographic as much as Super Bowl does. All right, what's next?
We got Smack on My Titty Boosters says, I really feel they needed to come out with a banger trailer considering the state of Star Wars is in. I don't feel like this trailer did the job. At least for me, it felt like, look, they're in a movie this time and not a grand return to cinema for Star Wars.
Yeah, I agree. Now, again, though, you got to keep in mind, it's just the first trailer, right? So did I like this first trailer? No, I didn't. I didn't. I don't think it was a very good trailer. It did nothing to increase my energy or excitement for this movie or quell my skepticism about it. Again, I'm still holding out hope because it's Star Wars and it's John Favreau. And as long as John Favreau's there, there's hope. I'm still pessimistic, but I'm not completely dismissing it because John Favreau's doing it. So we'll see. But yeah, I agree. It was not a very good first trailer. I don't think it moved the needle for many people, at least the people who are kind of on the fence. But we'll see how it goes. Let's hope that trailers number 2 and 3 are much, much better. All right, what's next?
Nice Beaver says, hi, John. Have you named your van yet? Some suggestions.
Yes.
The Mandalorian, Vanisimilitude. It would have been great if you put spaces between these. Vincent Van Gogh Van Wilder, of course.
That's a good one.
Tauntaun. You can write it and sleep inside. It's. But it smells better on the inside.
They smell bad, and I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
And then,
go ahead.
Oh, he says outer space. Then you can tell people you and Ann had lunch in outer space, and it'd be true.
Yeah, we have named our van, and it's the name of the Wi-Fi signal in here too. So Ann's black Model Y Tesla is called Moon Knight. My white Tesla Model 3 is called Winter Soldier. And so our big giant silver van is called, let me see if there's anybody in the live. Let me give a second here to the people in the live chat. See if they can. So understand our van's pretty big and it's silver. Does anybody have any guesses? I'm keeping my eye on the live chat right now as to what we have named our van. I don't know. Have I told you, Jonathan, what it is?
No. So now I'm kind of thinking.
Do you have any guesses?
Only because you said big and silver, I would think like Rhino, but I don't think it would be Rhino.
A lot of people saying Silver Surfer.
Ultron could be
Some people are saying Ultron. Yep. And
Colossus.
Devin Burns got it.
As soon as I read it, I'm like, it's Colossus.
Yep. Devin got it. Devin in the live chat got it. We named our van Colossus. Yeah. Big, powerful, silver. And that's the name of the Wi-Fi signal. So if you're around our van, or if you're driving down the highway and on your phone and you have your Wi-Fi signals available and you see Colossus Wi-Fi, that's probably my van is beside you. So yeah, Colossus is the name of the van. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says 31 years ago, Shawshank Redemption was released. Do you think we will see another box office flop, have a huge resurgence, or is the amount of content on streaming going to keep that from happening? What is the last movie to have pulled a Shawshank? Where it's like excellent and then...
Yeah, I think there have been excellent movies that didn't necessarily do all that great, but then went on to become what known as one of the greatest ever. You know, I mean, the reality is there's been a lot, but Shawshank is honestly one of the greatest motion pictures ever made by humankind. It's a top 5 greatest film ever made, Shawshank Redemption. I mean, it's a very, very high bar. So if you're asking, will there be another Shawshank on that level? Well, there's going to be very, very few. If you're asking, will there be another film that doesn't necessarily get the big response when it's in theaters, but goes on to become iconic? Yes, I think we've seen it happen several times since Shawshank, and I think that can happen more moving forward. All right, what's next?
Okay, here's our last one from Ozzy. Hi, John. Found your show during COVID and have been listening since. My commute home flies by thanks to you and the team.
Oh, thank you, man.
It was an awesome surprise to sit next to you at the Dublin Psycho meetup. Hope you enjoyed the Zevias.
Oh, the Zevias, yeah. So I actually had one of the people at the meetups come up to me with a big case of Zevia, which was great because I forgot to get any in the van. Well, actually, I didn't forget. I ordered some, but it didn't show up on time before I left. So I'm actually drinking Zevia right now. The Zevia he gave me. I'm drinking it right now. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who for joining us and spending time to be here, but also those of you specifically who sent in the questions. Number one, because you gave us great thumb things to talk about, but number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And listen, guys, the great thing about movies, like one of the many, many great things about movies, is that they can inspire us, they make us dream, and they give us common ground to gather around and talk to each other about. And that's one of the reasons why I love it. And you being a part of the film fan community is an awesome thing. And we are so grateful that you're not only joining us to listen to us talk, but also participating and chatting and talk to your friends and stuff like that, because hell, guys, you matter. Anyway, thanks a lot for being here. Big thanks to, of course, Robert Meyer Burnett and our technical director, Jonathan Boyko.
See you guys tomorrow.
My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.